All right, Jamal, man, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Jamal is the mastermind behind my entrance music. Very positive person. I'm super glad that you're here, man. Thank you so much. I was talking to you
Appreciate
even
it, man.
before I did the podcast because I was like, man, I need someone who like can do my music that's like, positive. And I literally was just like, hey man, could you do this? And not even a half an hour later, Jamal was like, yup, and he sent me this awesome sound. So I really want to thank you for that, man.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. It was fun too, man. It was real fun.
So
Yeah.
you know that I start every episode asking 4 questions. They're random questions, and it's just something to kind of break the ice. I know a lot about you already, but
hmm
these were the first 4 questions that came to mind when when I
hmm
just wanted to when I first started talking to you about doing the podcast. So
hmm
the first question is this: you ready?
hmm
All right. Um, if you had to sum up your life with one song, what would it be and why?
Um, it would have to be a Jay-Z song. I know that because he describes a lot of stuff in my life, or just a lot of stuff. Like a lot of, I relate to a lot of things he done. Like
Yeah.
things he did or whatever. It's a lot of artists I relate to, but Jay-Z is one of my favorite. It's kind of like that. I wish I knew the name of the title, but it's kind of like it's a song. It's a song he's talking about like treat my first like my last, and my last like my first. It's my everything. Kind of like when you go into it, and I think it's off the Black album, the last song of the Black album. But it's kind of a song with a Biggie Smalls interlude piece, and then Jay Z's rapping on it, and he's talking about just basically trying as hard as he did when he first got into it, being as hungry as he did when he first got into it. So it's kind of like never letting go of that hunger you used to have when you first got excited about whatever you were going to do, or
Yeah.
when you were struggling and everything was hard and you didn't have it and you had to get to that next step. That same hunger you got, don't let that go, even if like you made it. Just
Yeah.
keep being as hungry as you were before. So to sum up my life, I would say that kind of like just stay hungry.
That's awesome. I like that. And it's funny too because what brought me and you together was music. Because like
hmm
we both love Tech Nine. That was like
hmm
and it's funny because I'm from the East Coast, you're from the West Coast. So
hmm
I gotta. This has nothing to do with this question, but I gotta know where do the better rappers come from, West Coast or East Coast, and why?
A lot of, like I said, Jay-Z's on the East Coast, but I can't really say better, like, because Tech Nine's from the Midwest, so I guess that's how we kind of merged on that one right there.
Yeah.
East Coast, West Coast, end up in the middle somewhere. But I don't know. A lot of my favorites are from the East Coast, but a lot of my actual like cultural favorites are from the West Coast. You know what I mean? Like, it's like to me, since I've been on the West Coast, it's like Mac Dre. No one's gonna replace Mac Dre for me. I like Jay Z, but it's like if I had to choose out of two, that'd be like I can't choose, who I'm gonna pick over Mac Dre or Jay Z.
Yeah.
Mac Dre, a lot of people don't know about. They're starting to know about because he's a cool reference to throw around and act like you deep in the culture. If you're a new person, it's kind of like back in the day when people ask these new artists, they're like born in the '90s. Who's your favorite artist? And they'd be like, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. Like, that's not your goddamn favorite artist. Like, you don't know none of their songs.
Yeah.
But so that's what Mac Dre is being thrown around by these big rappers, kind of just to give them some clout. But Mac Dre is something I grew up with, a part of the culture. E40's part of the culture for me. Stuff like that. A lot of people, Andre, the Andre Nicotina's and stuff like that, because it was kind of like a West Coast feel. Like if you live out in a certain coast and you got that music, they're rapping about what y'all going through and they're setting trends for your area. Just like Tupac kind of was a big West Coast thing for the '90s. It's
Yeah.
kind of like saying who's better, Biggie Smalls or Tupac at that point.
Right. Yeah.
But for better, put it this way, better lyricists, I want to say for the most part, East Coast created lyricism for the most part. So I want to say they have that because that's what they strive to do. Well, they used to strive to do before this, the Southern vibe kind of took over. But better lyricists, I want to say from 2000s and below, I'm going to give that to the East Coast for lyricism. Just lyricism, playing with words. But rapper and just cultural vibes, West Coast.
Yeah.
Like
I
on a
agree.
cultural vibe, people come to California. You're either gonna hate it or you're gonna like it because it has so strong of a vibe. So it's like if a California person came in your area, a lot of people will start trying to pick up on ways that California person has. because the vibe and the culture is so strong. It's real cliquish. So it's like you dress like this, you do this, you say these words. People are like, I never heard these words before. You know what I mean? I never heard this, so I never seen that dance before. And that's how it used to be before internet took over. But you know, TikTok and all this other stuff can just make the one dance for the whole world to do. But back in the day was, you know, Thiz dancing and me, you know, when I used to walk around with stunner shades at nighttime, people like, I was in AIT and stuff like that, and I just came straight from California. People was like, why are you wearing sunshades at nighttime? Why don't you have a lens in your sunshades? You know what I mean? Like, ask me weird questions. Why do you have shorts on and a sweater? You know, like, because that's what you do in California. You put some shorts on the hoodie. You know what I mean? I know the East Coast is too cold for that. You know, you got to have pants on if you're going to wear a sweater. But they're like, why are you wearing, you know, why are you wearing these things? You know what I mean? So it's like now, you know, people understand a little bit, but that's the thing, man. It's kind of like, I want to say, like, for me, if I had to pick five, like my top five albums, it would be like if I had top five artists I had to bring me on an island kind of thing, I would have to pick, like, you know, Jay-Z's gonna be my number one because I love Jay-Z. I'm gonna have to throw probably some old M in there, like fucking I got older and stopped using drugs M. Even though that's a good thing you don't use drugs M, but you know, you were different. You know what I mean? Then I had to throw my Mac Dre's, my you know, probably I want to say E40, but just like like he has some classics, but just replay value for me is kind of like out, you know, especially it seemed like he started making a lot of music just to put a lot of people in his area on and not just to be a superstar, you know what I mean? Because he always wanted to stay hood and local and stay in the trend. So it'll have to be like probably put it this way: 2 East Coast people and then 3 West Coast people, or 2 West Coast people and a Midwest or a Southern person or something like that. Because you know, Future and Lil Wayne's, they still go hard. Even though I don't mess with Lil Wayne no more because he was being a weirdo. But you know,
And
that's how I feel about it, man.
I definitely got to know your opinion with music nowadays, because I can't get into, you know, I listened to Wu-Tang growing up, Method Man, and like that whole thing, and then now like like the mumble rappers, I can't understand it. It's just one word repeated in a different kind of like different way, and I'm just like, I just can't. I don't. Am I getting old? Is that what's going on? Like,
I think it's both, because mumble rappers are kind of whack, but then as you get older, it's kind of like we like the stuff that we grew up on because that's the era we were in. Like, say for instance, right, when I was growing up, ecstasy was a thing. Ecstasy was, there was no Molly's, there was no weirdness, right? We were just talking about this the other day. So it's like when Mac Dre is talking about Papa Thiz, and you know, they're talking about Blue Dolphins and Thizzle pills and doing Thiz dances, and after you pop an E, talking about grab a juice and pop 2 and act a motherfucking fool. You know, it's about what you actually doing. So it's kind of like the best explanation I got for that is a rapper explained it like this: it's for that generation's vibes, whatever they're going through. Like back in the day, it was cool to be the drug dealer. Now it's cool to be the drug user. You know what I mean? That's just weird. You know what I mean? It's cool to be addicted and talk about, you know, how addicted and strung out you are. And then, you know, when people catch on that, hey, this motherfucker's not doing too great in life because the drugs got a hold on him, he's trying to actually get off. Then it's kind of like, oh, that guy's old. That's the only reason he's trying to get off. But it's like, no, because life hits and shit's real. But it's like this mumble rap stuff is it's all Southern based, came out the South. It's the Southern vibe. Some people can do it, make it sound good. Some people can mumble and then not mumble and actually got lyrics too. It's kind of like, put it this way: remember when T-Pain came out and auto-tune? Like he used it like the hell out of auto-tune, right? So auto-tune was kind of like, you know, then people start saying death by auto-tune, like Jay-Z, that death by auto-tune. And then Jay-Z's homie, Kanye, used the hell out of auto-tune and blew up after, you know, they knocked T-Pain off the map. And so it's kind of like, how can I put that? It's kind of like, at first when I used to hear T-Pain, I used to be like, oh, this dude all need auto-tune. It sound good to me, but I'm like, there's auto-tune stuff. I didn't have a problem with him, but I'm like, the auto-tune stuff is getting ridiculous. But then I heard him sing without auto-tune. I'm like, this dude can sing. He just used auto-tune as a style. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the mumble rapper. There's some mumble rappers who just swag. It's all about swag and sounding and just a rhythm. It's not even about the flow. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when Eminem was talking about the girls who don't like the words in the music with that D12 song back in the day. It was like, you know, they just don't even listen to the words. You know, I just, you know, said a grip of mumbling and I still got you bumping to my stuff. It's like they just mumble and they just do a little swag, kind of little thing, little rhythm to feel good. And then they got mumble rappers like that I didn't like at first, like Young Thug, but then I start respecting the hell out of him. They can mumble, but then can like rap his ass off. Because I remember the first Young Thug video I seen, I was like, what is he doing? He just looked like he on drugs or on lean and just out of it right now. But he was doing this thing and they had people around him trying to act like they vibing, but they was kind of laughing in the background.
No.
Then the dude blew up. And I started listening to him real hard. I was like, this dude got talent. Future's the same way. This dude tried to put me on Future back in the day when I was in the military still. He was like, I'm telling you, Future's going to blow. He's going to blow. And I was like, nah, this time I was still like hardcore West Coast and East Coast lyricism. Not dude blew up. But then it's like, the more I listened to him, I was like, this dude got talent. And he was a ghostwriter for a lot of people. So a lot of these people that can mumble are actually really writing lyrics for other rappers who can, you think it's them, saying these words, but it's these ghostwriters. So it's a mix up. It's some people mumble and they're just garbage and they're mumble rappers and just kids like them. And some people can mumble and it's just their style and they play with the words and they play with the mumbling. And, and the mumble thing is all about drug use, honestly. It's like, if you on lean or you talking slurred, that's where that all comes from. It's kind of like a mix of that mixed with hip hop, but it's kind of like some people just mumble and say garbage and people be like, oh, it's the best. Me, I need to be on the bandwagon.
When you're seeing like older rappers that you like Tech Nine, and then like when he's starting to change the way he sounds too, and like he's rapping about Molly and stuff, and like I'm just like, but he could still like go back and forth between trying new stuff, and like I think what you need to do is hold on to what you have going, but experiment. But it seems like with Eminem nowadays, it's just I can't listen to his new stuff. I don't like it. But like if he could do kind of what Tech Nine's doing, is like listen, like at his core, he's always gonna rap fast. He's always gonna have those crazy rap / rock beats intertwined with what he does, and then he messes around with the new stuff, but he incorporates a lot of the older stuff. So that's why I'll always be a Tech Nine fan till the end, But
Tech go hard. His whole group go hard though. What's his boy name? The one that's he does the singing. He does his little hooks and everything. His best homie. I think he's like blind to one eye or something like that. Got cataract something.
Oh yeah, I don't know
his name, but that dude goes hard. I know his name, but just right now I'm trying to bring it up. He goes Calico, Chris Calico.
Oh yeah.
Chris Calico, he's clean. He does his singing. On his little hooks or whatever for Tech Nine. Tech Nine goes hard. A lot of his group goes hard. Just strange music just goes hard. Period. Like they're about the lyrics.
Hobson. So I love Hobson.
Yeah.
He's just
Hobson.
Yeah.
Hobson. This is the thing with Hobson. Hobson, my wife explained it to me like this. She said she notices anybody who tries to do everything by themselves in a career path, they usually don't make it and blow up like really, really big. Like the people who can who can dance, sing, create their graphics, write their music, make their own beat, do a video, they peak out. I don't know if it's because their social circle's not that big or they're introverts or not network. I'm not sure what it is, but they peak out at a certain point. And then the superstars are the people who can do like one or two of those things. And that's just it. It's kind of like in regular work. It's like the specialists and then the people who just, I can do a lot of things, but I'm just not like spectacular. So I'm not gonna get paid $200,000, but this is one guy who can do everything, but he gets paid $70,000. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things. But in music, I think that's was Hobson's thing. It's like, and he tried to switch his manager and stuff like that because he was doing his marketing, he was doing his videography, he was doing his lyrics, he was rapping, he was doing everything by himself. And he decided not to do that a little bit, but I think it's draining, and I think it's it for some reason they cap out for some reason. I'm not sure what that's about, but yeah, I'm not sure I'm going with that.
Like just fucking burnt out from everything, or
I'm not sure if it's burnout or if it's like I said, because a lot like I noticed as I'm getting older, like a lot of stuff is just networking. It's like who you know. A person's not even that great. Like you talking about these mumble rappers, a lot of them come from the same troupe. A lot of them do. They come from the same group. I know him. I know him. I know him. Oh, he rapped it. I rapped that history. I rapped the same studios. Or a lot of things since I've been getting in music stuff. It's kind of like people's parents went to school with so-and-so's parents at Juilliard's or whatever the hell they went to. And that's how this person can be the audio engineer and mix engineer and all these great sessions because their parents know their parents and they went to the same schools and they're all, alumni. I'm just like, it's not even really about the talent at that point. It's about who you know. Yeah. So it's kind of like a lot of these people probably are introverted, and that's why they do everything themselves and they don't want to pay nobody, and then it caps out their networking. So then when they're trying to network other people, like say for instance, right, I was like, I'm not going to be on your podcast, do my own podcast. I'm not going to be nobody's podcast ever because I can do better podcasts.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm not going to know you. You're not going to be able to talk to me about them. You know, I'm not going to be able to tell you or talk to people about you. And it just kind of like puts me in a bubble, my own little bubble. And I can get as good as my audience, you know, but besides that, I'm not going to be able to branch out to your audience. You're not going to be able to branch out to my audience. Then my audience is not going to spread the word. And I think that's probably what it is. Probably just like, you know, they probably need to be more social. I don't know. I don't really know because I'm not, you know, I'm not them and I haven't been in their situation, but that's what it seems like to me from the outside.
And I totally agree, because if you look at like people who make it, like Snoop Dogg, like you don't picture Snoop Dogg with Martha Stewart being like best friends on a cooking show.
Exactly.
He has his hands in everything, and that's like, you know, he has such an open mind. He'll just work with whoever, anywhere. You know, he'll always be Snoop Dogg, the guy who smokes pot that everyone loves. But, you know, it's just I totally agree. He's willing to work with anyone.
Yeah, he keeps his, he's like it's like a charisma slash like networking is like comes natural to certain people. So it's kind of like, you know, he'll be talking to people, have people on GGN Network or whatever, because I used to watch GGN, you know, big up Snoop. But I used to watch GGN Network back in the day, and he'd be like, hey, let's work together. For real, let's work together. It'd be like some random person, right? Yeah, we need to do a song. We need to do a movie together. Yeah, hit me up. We're like random. Next thing you know, he's on actual, you know, some of these people he's working with, like probably 3%. And that's just how it is, period, in life. Like 3%. Like if you go on YouTube right now and you look up how many likes versus how many views, it's always the same percentage. So say for instance, like someone gets 100,000 views, they're gonna get like 10,000 likes. I'm not sure why it's that. Like you just had 100,000 people watch your stuff. It should be like 90 or 50 or 60. It's like, nah, it's gonna be 10. But I think it's like, you know, just an odds number, and he does that. Like he worked with some strange people. He's been on Call of Duty competitions, just playing video games. Like he just a super gamer, but it's just, you know, friendly dude that works with people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you ready for question number 2?
All
right. What's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear. I want to say my biggest fear is probably biggest fear. I guess like getting old without accomplishing what I want to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like I don't want life just to be normal. I don't want to just be like, oh, life just went this way and that was just it. I want to make some type of wave. You know what I mean? I don't want to get old.
Thing that you and I have in common is like, even if we made it to the top, we're looking for the next fucking, like we can never be happy. And
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, all right, what's the next thing I gotta do? What's the next thing I gotta do? Because like, if you're not working towards something, I feel like you're dying. You know?
Exactly.
And you can't. But the hard part about that is like, you also gotta enjoy the moments. So like, you know, you can kind of sometimes get wrapped up and constantly like, all right, I gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do this. But then you're like, what now? You know? So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's like there's certain people that, you know, I've never been content with just like, hey, go to work, come home, go to work, come home. Never. Yeah. You know, eventually I want to own my own something, you know, whatever that is, and that's what I want to do. So it's like, even if I made a lot of money somewhere, I still want to be able to do some type of side project that's just mine. You know what I mean? Because when you make a lot of money somewhere doing, you know, something for somebody, that's theirs. You know, they're going to be able to pass that down. You know, I've seen companies that have like, let me adjust this real quick, but I've seen companies that have like, you know, their kids taking over. And I'm like, that's nice right there. That's what I want. You know what I mean? Like if I can get like a mentorship from a person that actually made that possible, that'd be like a dream right there. Like actual that whole $1 million mentor thing, but you got to be in $1 million mentor circle. So it's kind of like that kind of begets that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, if you don't know millionaires, you can't be in a millionaire circle, but you know, that's what it is.
And I think that rubs off in the Army too, because like when we first start off, it's like, you know, you want to surround yourself with same thing. Like you want to surround with people who's going places. You want to surround your people who are leaders, who have the tools, and you can kind of figure out who's the like NCO you don't want to be, the dude that's like smoking soldiers, yelling at soldiers, but is not able to like mentor to them, or you know what I'm saying? So like Yeah, I totally. It's harder now in the civilian world. I don't know if you're running into that issue. Is finding those kind of crazy motivated people that we had when we were in the army. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's hard because I've definitely secluded myself a little bit more because it's like, people's moral compasses don't align with me every now and then, or just
Mm-hmm.
different backgrounds and stuff. It's just like I can't be lazy because then like, or be around a lot of lazy people because then I feel like I'm being lazy. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you complacent, like that whole average of your five friends thing.
yeah.
But my thing in civilian world is the like army had it too, is politics. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Everything's politics everywhere. That's one of my hardest things to get around the politics because like by nature I'm just a cool person,
Yeah.
like so it's kind of like I like to help people. But then you got the people who are acting like they're trying to help people, but they're just clawing at people, trying to get to the top, backstabbing people left. Like since I've been in the civilian world, backstabbing left and right. Military, probably you got backstabbers, but it's like, what's gonna happen? You're gonna get fired? No, you're not gonna get fired. People are trying to fire you. You don't have nothing to do with your position, but
Yeah.
trying to get you fired for some reason. Like
Exactly.
weird. I'm like weirdos out there.
Yeah, if you
Oh, I
want to get
experienced that a
promoted
billion
in the army,
times.
it's on you. Like, and you got like, you're doing it for yourself, but like that when you're working in a normal job and you're fighting for 15 or however many dollars an hour, and you got a
Yeah.
dude like stabbing you in the back for something stupid over that money,
Yeah.
it's like it's not even worth. It's almost like you're like, you know what, bro? Take the promotion. Just leave me the fuck alone.
That's what I be saying. I'll be like, man, this is not, I'm like, you literally fighting over this? Like,
Mhm.
they got people above us making crazy amount. Then they got like
Yeah.
the regular workers that make their amount. And
Mhm.
like, you're trying to stab people in the back for chump change.
Yeah.
Like my thing is like this. People got family at home and kids at home and health situation, all type of stuff that they got to deal with. I'm not trying to ruin that for somebody. I don't know what
Exactly.
they got to deal with at home and what their situation is. So I'm not trying to, go after them that hard and be like, I'm gonna ruin you so you can go home and everyone else in your family can, maybe die or
Yeah.
starve or not have school clothes and stuff. But they got people who do not care. And like the older and older I get, it's like the more I see that, I'm like, these people are just vicious, like just crazy out there.
To the
And it's
point
kind of
that
like,
like you like if you take a step back and you see it, like they'll talk shit about an individual,
uh,
and then like they could literally walk in the room and their face changes to be like, oh my god, I haven't seen him. Like,
yeah,
oh look at you 2 seconds ago were just like bad
yeah,
for
it's
this
going
person.
crazy on this person. And that's the stuff that killed me. Like since I've been out, like that's one of the hardest. They always talk about adjusting to civilian work. Like I don't have a problem adjusting to work. I don't got a problem working. I never had a problem staying late. I never had a problem. You know what? It's kind of like I got like lint flying on my face, but it's like one of those things to where like like it's the politics. It's like people like the super 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 fakeness. Like how come everybody just can't act like they do at home? Everybody's normally cool.
Yeah.
And you know what trips me out? It's like we all grew up, right? We all played in the playground together, all chilled, have fun. It was all just fun, right? Up to about 16, and then things change a little bit. You know what I mean? And then everyone starts acting how they see people act on TV.
Yeah.
Like they see their job role on TV, so they think that's how they got to act in real life, or they see someone else doing that same thing. So it's just this weird cycle as you get older that repeats. So it's like you hear people you see people dressed in a certain way, doing like I seen this guy, right? And this is when I really, really noticed like this stuff is just people forcing these characters on themselves. What's the name said, like Jim Carrey was saying, like it's like this guy, he had this little Kango hat on with his flannel. He was in his car by himself and he had his pipe and everything, just like, and then he was like in like a Toyota or some weird stuff. I'm like, this dude's like the master of disguise in a Toyota, like acting like he's like some dude that sits in a place full of books with wood all around him, and he's in his little car. And I'm like, this is an act right here, man. Like, it's like people develop these traits that aren't natural, and now you got to go to work and be unnatural, and then everyone's super stressed out. I'm like, if we're all stressed out, why are we continuing to act this choose this behavior? If everyone's stressed out, I don't get it.
Another thing that I kind of noticed with like the difference between civilian world and then the army is like in the army, like if you mess up, you have that stress, like, but if you mess up, it's like you've done something huge. But in the
Yeah.
civilian world, you kind of have that in the back of your head that you're constantly possibly could be doing something wrong. In the army,
Yep.
we didn't really have that because usually
Hmm.
it's like if you do an accidental discharge, for example, you fucked up, or
Yeah,
you
that's big,
weapon
right?
somewhere, you fucked up. But
Yep.
like in the civilian world, you can get in trouble for just like saying something in a certain way, or any little thing is just like I'm
Yeah,
constantly having to check what I'm doing, and it just
yeah.
drives me insane because I'm just like, ah, I'm
You know
not
what
used
I
to
mean?
it still.
Yeah, it's like extra added stress on top of the job stress when the job's not
Yeah,
hard. I'm like,
exactly.
no, like none of these jobs are hard, really. It's just the extra weird, weird people with weird thoughts in their head because people got some strange stuff they don't tell other people about,
Yeah.
and then they put that on other people, or they get pissed off, at home and they come to work with it. Like it's a lot of weird stuff, and I'm just
My,
like, if everybody just act how they acted at home, we would get along much better at work. And I just don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
my favorite thing is like when like leadership in the civilian world will try to be like, if you guys want, you should blah blah blah, and I'm the
Hmm.
first to do the opposite. Just
Hmm.
like, hey, if you guys would like, you guys could make a donation or just whatever it is.
Hmm.
Being in the army is just like, oh hell no, I ain't gonna do that shit.
Exactly, right.
Like, if you're given the option, I ain't
Yeah,
doing it. Like,
you know what I mean.
you know.
Yeah.
So the next question, I got my own answer for this too, um, but I gotta know one of yours. So tell me a funny army moment. It can be anything, like one that
a,
sticks
f-
off in the top of your head.
a funny army moment. Funniest army moment I probably had. I was over there at Fort Lewis. We was in the field, right? In the field, um, intense. Doing the whole field X, yada yada, right? And we had our supply sergeant there, and the captain, like the XO, not even the captain, the XO of our unit was dating our basically S6 commander, right? Or S6 lieutenant, whatever. Well, she was a captain, but he was dating her. So the lieutenant that was the XO was dating the captain who was the S6 um fucking officer or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So we're all on the field, and he would always come to the tent all the time, just to chat with her and shit, right? So we all knew that we had a little bit of privilege or whatever, right? So we're sitting there. We still work our ass off, though. We used to work our ass off. Like Sergeant Rod used to work the hell out of us. Like he wanted shit to be extra, extra perfect. It was already perfect. Let's see if we can make this even better. He was a good ass NCO, but he was one of them dudes, right? So we're sitting there and we're in the field, and the S4 dude, or whatever, the S4 NCO, he came, and the captain called him over because we needed more coffee because Sergeant Rod used to work the hell out of us. So we had like coffee. Everyone would come to our thing for coffee. So Sergeant, so the our commander, whatever, she tells the XO, she's like, hey, could you go get us some coffee or whatever? We need some coffee, we're running out of coffee. So the XO, he drank a grip of coffee too, and he's always in our tent. So he's like, he tells the S4 dude, he's like, I need you to go, and he's thinking to, because that the supply dude is going back and forth to post. We're like probably 15 miles outside of post. So he's going back and forth to actual main post to go to the PX real quick and come back over and over and over to do like the missions because he gets to go back to the headquarters. So he's like, I need you to get some Dunkin' Donuts coffee, right? And then he's like, okay. He's like, okay. So he just goes out and we're just waiting. We're like, man, we can't wait to get some coffee. We're tired. We're dirty as hell. And all of a sudden he comes back with donuts, right? Big ass thing of donuts. And he's like Dominican and shit, right? So he has the accent, just makes it even more funny, right? And so he's sitting there, and the XO's like, what is this? Donuts. He's like, actually, to get some coffee. Where's the coffee? All I heard was Dunkin' Donuts, sir. I heard Dunkin' Donuts. We was all just dying. I only heard you say Dunkin' Donuts, sir. He went all the way in the middle of downtown to Dunkin' Donuts to go get some coffee in the middle of Field X and came back with some donuts to the field. That shit had me dying. We were just rolling. We had a couple things that field mission, man.
So
One of my soldiers,
one of my
let's say,
favorite Barksdale moments is we're in, and you're gonna know this right away, but we're at a combat life saving school, and
oh
next to each other. You remember this moment?
yeah,
We're sitting behind this guy who looked exactly like Tupac, like to the T,
mm-hmm.
and throughout the whole time uh, we're together, we're Jamal sitting to my right, and we're just playing off of each other. Like you'll be like, "Hey man, did you hear about Brenda?" And I'll be like, "Yeah man, she had a baby."
How
Because
long will they want me?
yeah,
That dude, that
that was so funny. It was just he looked exactly like him too. I was like, God
but that
damn.
whole thing was crazy. That whole combat lifesaver, the whole thing was crazy. Remember that girl when she was laying on her back, she had the snot bubbles coming out because she was afraid. She was just crying for the little thing. She was like, ooh, the little snot bubbles was popping out of her nose. Yeah, I was like, that was ridiculous right there. That whole thing was ridiculous. That was a fun course, though.
Yeah.
That was fun right there. But man, if you'd
All right,
have
the
been
last
there,
question. You ready?
Yep.
What is something you overcame that made you who you are today?
One of my biggest accomplishments, I want to say, because I had to do it myself and it was hard. It's a lot harder than people think. CCNA. I wanted a CCNA for a long time because I started off. This is how military career started off. I asked the recruiter. I said, "Hey, I want to be in. I want to do something with computers, right? At first, I wanted to be aviation mechanic. ASVAB was like 3 points too low for it, right? I'm like, damn, they could have worked something out, but didn't get that. So I want to do some computers in, right? Okay, I got the perfect job for you. This and the other. I get there, it's all radios, no computer at all, right? So I'm 25 Quebec, all radios in a repeater shelter, no computer in front of me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, damn, okay. So I'm learning this stuff, but then it gets me into networking. I'm like, because it's all sitting a signal somewhere, radio, whatever. So I'm like, okay. So then when I got to Fort Lewis, I was able to kind of work my way into getting to, like the A+ courses, Net Plus courses, stuff like that. Talk to my with the you remember the dudes we had and everything in charge of us. So talk to them. They was cool and it was like, yeah, you can go to these classes, this and the other. Got to go to these classes or whatever. After that, I was like, okay, I want to keep going in the networking course because the networking path because this is my background or whatever. So then I was like, I want my CCNA eventually because we used to watch the 25 Bravos do all the stuff with the Cisco switches and the Cisco stacks, right? So it's always like, man, I want that job. That's the job. You can sit in the tent, you do his little thing, whatever. That's the important job of the whole little networking thing that sends the shot. I want that job, right? So years and years and years, I did networking, a networking degree and everything else like that. But then I still didn't have the CCNA, which is kind of like deeper, a little more in depth or whatever. So I sat there and I self-studied for a while after one job, a little because I kept having help desk, and they were paying all right, but and then they would give you more more responsibility. So it'd be like help desk / system admin, help desk / this. But I wanted to get deeper in the trenches and know some other stuff, whatever, right? So I got the CCNA. I said I'm gonna take my CCNA certification. I'm gonna study for that. And I did my little CBT nuggets and stuff like that. But I used to stay up like crazy, like the people who go to school, people who actually study certain things and have to self-study themselves, they know exactly what I'm talking about. People who work and go to school, they know. Stand up crazy hours by yourself, looking at crazy computer screens all night till it becomes normal, and just studying and studying and studying. Like I used to literally, wife used to go to sleep, I still be up at this computer right here, studying CCNA stuff, multiple, just going through everything. And I get off, it'd be like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I go to sleep and then do it again. And then, and I study from like, all day. Then it'd be something in the morning, go to sleep for like a couple months because I didn't pass the first time. And that's what made it even greater. It's like I didn't pass the first time. And then the second time got closer. The first time got a little close, the second time got a lot closer. And then the third time, I believe I passed it. I think it was the second or third time, but I passed it, whatever. And I went in there, and that's the time I was like, maybe I'm gonna pass it, maybe I'm not, whatever. But I went in there, whatever, and I passed it. And it was like I had my Hulu name probably still is CCNA. Like I had, that whole the secret thing. I was making that thing happen. I was like, I'm making my profile names. I'm doing everything CCNA. Still got my books right here. I got my screen sitting on top of a book, but just CCNA everything, right? That stuff was hard as hell, but it's kind of like it let me know that if you want anything in life, you got to work as hard as you just did on that, on the next thing. If I want to make music and learn music, I got to work as hard and as dedicated on that and focus only on that as much as anything. If I want to do no matter what thing in this world, if I want to get good at fishing, I don't care. If I want to get good at, making baits and tackles, whatever, I got to study the shit out of it until I learn it just as hard as I did that. And that's how these certain people get to these certain spots in life, besides the luck part and the networking part. There's, they're good at their craft. That's why they stand out. They just didn't wake up and all of a sudden they're good. They spent crazy amount of hours that no one ever seen doing their craft. You know what I mean? So
Another
that
thing that
kind of,
stood out to me when you were telling me that too is like, don't be afraid of failure because like, someone tells you fail, I could just picture you. Oh, it's the 10th time. Let's make it 11. Oh,
You know what I
let's
mean?
make it 12. I'm not leaving here till I get that certificate. So.
Exactly. And then the lady comes to me and she just has this little smile. Cause at first, it's a proctored exam. You're out of place or whatever. You got the camera on you to make sure you're not cheating. You only got a certain amount of times, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're doing this intense test or whatever, and time's counting down, and you're trying to go over all your stuff to make sure you're correct. And all of a sudden, this lady just gives me my paper, and she has this little smile on her face because she sees me before from failing before and have to have my paper. And she had a little smile, and I looked at, I was like, I passed. I was like one of the best feelings of my life right there. I was like, I passed, drove home, hella excited.
Yeah.
But it's just and there's harder certs than that in the same path, but it's kind of like to get these other certs, it kind of just taught me something. Like the failure wasn't too bad. It taught me like that feeling of failure. It's kind of like it didn't feel the greatest, but then it's impressionable. Like it stays with you. So it's kind of like it stays with you long enough to keep going. Either it's going to break you or make you. So it's kind of like after that, it taught me toward whatever else I need to do, or whenever I'm trying to study for a test, I need to go that hard. It gave me an example because you don't get to see other people's lives and like be that little fly on the wall while they're studying. You don't get to see it. People want that and they want that little blueprint roadmap, but no one ever gets it. So it's kind of like when you do it yourself that one time, whatever you try hard at, then you're going to get your own little blueprint roadmap for the rest of your life to be like, if I want anything in life, I better go this hard or it's not going to happen. I'm just going to be wasting my time.
Yeah.
So
this is like one of those moments that I need to like cut out and just that one part so people can just like, that's what you gotta do. Anything I do in life, just listen to fucking Jamal, that one part, just fucking stay forward. So Jamal, I kind of want to go backwards real quick. I want to know baby Jamal growing up. What was it like? You grew up in
Fresno.
Fresno.
Yeah, Fresno.
What was it like for you growing up? You grew up in Fresno?
Yeah, I grew up in Fresno for the most part. I moved from from Philly originally.
Oh, really?
Moved to California like really early in my life, and then Oakland, and then moved to Fresno very early after being in Oakland for a little bit. So
and what made you join the army? Like, what was like your motivator?
Fucking money and getting out of my goddamn house. That was my motivator. My immediate family is a trip. So it's like this. It's like, I didn't have the best upbringing. I didn't have like, I didn't have the clothes. I didn't have the school supplies, carrying homework folded up in your pocket. I know a lot of kids do that, purposely back in the day, but no backpacks, pencils with the fucked up erasers that just smeared all your work, just, no.
Your book covers was the paper bags. Like,
you know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Like, like no backpack to carry the books, walking myself to school, school with my other friends and stuff like that. Like a ghetto childhood, whatever, right? Like seeing a lot of crazy stuff growing up, crazy stuff. So it's kind of like being with that and then having like, and then trying and stuff like that. And I had like the type of parent who was kind of like, hey, you're not going to just, if you get a job and you just go to school, everything's all right. Nah, she was doing some other stuff. I'm not sure why, but mentalities, whatever. But she was on some other stuff, stepdad on some other stuff. They're not trying to be good parents at all, really. So it's kind of like, raising kind of almost damn near yourself. And I'm the middle child too, so it's kind of like I was just out there and I didn't really, if I ran into trouble on the street, right? I remember I was telling my older brother a while back, this, that, and the other happening. Yeah, how come you didn't call me? Because I was like, you might get shot or you might shoot somebody. I'm like, I'm not trying to call you to go, put you in that situation. So I wanted to try to keep him out of certain situations. So I kind of just, I just kept silent and went through the situation myself, whatever, right? So it's like a lot of that, or a lot of like taking weird odd jobs as a kid or whatever, like especially my teens, trying to make it. But I wanted to go to school. I always wanted to go to school. That was my big thing. I always like, if I could have just worked and went to school, I'd have been straight. I'd have been like, no problem at all. But I didn't have the opportunity.
So I was like, you've had that like crazy motivation since day one. Like, so like for me, I was like also that way. But for me, like I wasn't motivated. I was like going down the wrong paths a few times and stuff. And then the army for me is kind of like my starting point of being a man, taking responsibility, having morals, this and that. But it sounds like for you, like from day one, you're like goal, like goals. You knew like the obstacles, you knew what to avoid. And for me, it was like bump into every wall I possibly could run into, and they'd be like, all right, that's where I gotta go.
Me, it was like this wall going to end up with me getting killed or me having to shoot somebody or something like that, and then end up doing time and having a felon on my record. So it's kind of like when I was watching your brother's podcast, he's like, if I was trying not to be a felon, that part there. So I didn't want to be a felon because once you're a felon, your whole life is dictated on felonies. You better make it on your, by yourself. After you're a felon, you better create something yourself, or you're not, or no one's going to give you nothing because of something that happened one time in your life. So mine was just surrounded by craziness. Like I can tell you crazy stories. Like I remember a long time ago, right? We're at these apartments. I got my friend David or whatever. I grew up around a lot of Mexican people because I'm in Fresno and stuff like that. So I remember my friend Dave, my childhood friend David, whatever. We're sitting there. He's probably a little older than me. I'm probably like 7 years old, probably 6, 7. No, probably 7 at that time. We're in these apartments. The whole apartment's little, apartments, ghetto apartments. Shit happens in California, right? We're sitting there. This lady comes from our house, and it's dark as hell. We're still outside, because most time my childhood was kind of like when all the kids come inside, you come inside. It can be dark as fuck. We are playing marbles still or something like that, right? So I still have fun as a kid doing kid stuff with my friends, but home was kind of different, right? So I'm sitting there, and it's me and David, right? David's a little older than me. I'm like 7. He's probably about 9. This lady, she's like, walk with us. She just came from my house, like out of my house. She's like, could you just walk with me or whatever? And it's like the apartments are like separated like this. So it's like left side of a whole giant apartment, right side, this little driveway in the middle that goes all the way down to lit apartments, and people's windows are on the inside. You can see over on the second floor if you live on the second floor. So it's like that. And then around is this old pool that's, at the tip, it's like this pool that's filled in with dirt, and stuff like that. So no one used that pool, glass all in it and stuff like that, So she's like, could you walk with me? And we get all the way to like over here, from over here, we go all the way to over there to the other side. And David looks at me, he's like, and then I turn around, that lady got stabbed up right after. Like, dude, over like $15 for crack, right? $15, right? Dude stabbed her in the gut, went all the way up to her chest, came out. She survived. Wow. But it's like, shit like that was my childhood, you know what I mean? Like shit like that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I'm not sure, like David had to be smart enough as a 9-year-old to know that, hey, something's up with this situation. Let's go. As a 9-year-old, I'm 7. So I'm like, that's the kind of mentality we had to grow up with. So it's like, either you're going to be a part of that or you're not going to be a part of that. Which one are you going to choose? You know what I mean? So I'm like, I got to the military and I'm going through my childhood and drill sergeants trying to yell at me. And they're pissed off because I'm not fucking afraid. Yeah. I'm like, the dude, I remember one drill sergeant who was like, oh, they got guns and they got this and you can't get I'm like, you can't get no grenades out there. And I'm like, no, people got grenades, where I'm from, you know what I mean? Like, I heard people got grenades, people got all type of crazy stuff that you can get, right? So it's kind of like that. So it's kind of like, choose this path or choose that path. Choose the, and then especially as you're getting close to 18, it's like, you're not going to juvie no more. You know what I mean? You're not going to juvie. Everybody's becoming adults. Everybody's starting to act like adults. Real adult consequences happen. I lost one of my friends. He was like 16, got shot up because of a female, incident because he was a pretty boy or whatever. And he was messing with this dude's girl and they caught him on his bike, shot him up. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff happened after that. And then that, I didn't know, but that dude, my friend, ended up being my older brother's friends, that, close friends' cousin. So that night, they all riding around looking for the people and shooting at the people that just shot. So it's like, that's the kind of environment. So it's kind of like, hey, you're going to be a part of this, you're going to be part of that. And that's the kind of motivating factor. Plus, my brother, he was always like, back in the day, at least, he was always, you got to hustle, man, you got to hustle. You can't be lazy, you can't do this and the other. So I always had like a paper route job. I had, I worked at Chuck E. Cheese's right before I got in the military. I got in a mouse suit once. That shit was fun though. But yeah, I was in a mouse suit and shit. Little kid just looking at me. I had to go in a little closet to change back into the regular outfit. Cause I was like the janitor over there for a little bit, right? And then and I used to have to ride my bike like fucking, I don't know how many miles. I used to get up in the morning and ride a fucking mountain bike all the way across town to go to Chuck E. Cheese by 6 o'clock in the morning to fucking clean up shit, right? Wow. And fucking so I'm sitting there. And I go inside the fucking, I got my little mouse outfit on. I'm doing little stuff outside with the kids and all having fun. And it's the one little kid that's a little bit older than the other one, right? He's sitting there and I go inside the closet change. He's just sitting there just looking, right? And I come back out and he sees me come back out. Then he walks away. I'm like, oh, this guy right here. But that was a fun experience though, being Chucky with her, right? But it was like, I did stuff like that. I did the fucking San Francisco Chronicle, selling the San Francisco Chronicle news subscriptions in Fresno.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Selling San Francisco papers in Fresno. So I did that. And this dude, they had a van full of people, of young people like me and like two people from Fresno State that worked over there. They would drive us around neighborhoods, and some type of way they had this little scheme to where they would drop us off at neighborhoods. We would sell subscriptions, and we can tell them a little speech about how they can get their money back if they cancel within these months, and we'll still get money for our scholarship and yada 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 because we're trying to go to school and yada yada yada, and we get paid a percentage off of that. So did all type of weird stuff trying to get some money so I can go. And I even tried going to Fresno City College and all this other stuff before the military, but home's unstable, whatever, right? So it's kind of like trying to do all that in the midst of, knowing, okay, I don't want to be broke like these people around me and have the same lifestyle as people around me, but I'm in Fresno. You got to do a lot of racist shit in Fresno. There's a black dude, you got to do, it's mostly Mexican people. So, and then the black, it's like this. It's weird. I don't know why it's like this. And it was like that, at least, and I see like Mexicans and blacks starting to get along better in Fresno, but it's kind of like Mexicans will hire Mexicans. Asians, they had a lot of like Laos and Mongs, whatever out there, the Asian groups, people, we all kicked it. Everyone kicked it, as kids, but then when it come to work and it's just different for some reason, I'm not sure. But, blacks wouldn't get hired at place. And if you did, you'll get hired like in the back at night to stock or some weird shit. But you couldn't be up on a register selling. You couldn't be at the register doing nothing. When I came out to Washington, I seen people with fucking braids and shit in their hair at the registers at Marshalls. That shit was amazing. I was like, this is crazy. You can have braids. You better fucking cut your hair off and fucking have a fade or something with clean shaven if you're gonna, even attempt to work out in a mall or something like that, right? So it's like that. And then the black people wouldn't even hire black people. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on, right? I had a mom, I lived literally probably like 4 minutes away from McDonald's. And it was my mom's friend's sister who was the manager. Wouldn't hire me. I'm like, I can literally walk to work in 3 minutes and you're not hiring me. And it was weird, and it was nothing. I didn't have nothing. I wouldn't have no felonies or, wasn't a bad kid, but it was like, okay, I need to escape this and do something in my life. So I joined the military. I was like, okay, this is a way to go to school. This is a way to, get out this situation. This is a way to make some money. This is a way to send some money back home to my little brother or whatever, if he needed some school clothes and stuff like that. So he didn't have to go through certain things I went through. Or if my mom did need some, some support, whatever, I can do that. So when I first got my little private paychecks, I thought I was balling. I was like, man, making so much, I was making like $800 a month or something like that. I was like, man, I'm balling. Almost got caught by the drill sergeant, sent $200 to my brother in basic. I was scared as hell, right? Because you weren't supposed to have messenger paycheck. So I'm over there at Fort Benning, right? The drill sergeant come up, and I'm sitting there or whatever, right? I'm with my boy, and I'm trying to withdraw the money or whatever, so I can put them in a little envelope and send $200. But you're not supposed to have no money like that. So all of a sudden, drill sergeant come up, right? And he's like, it's late as hell, and I got in trouble. I got Article 15 in fucking basic for washing my clothes at the wrong time, right? So drill sergeant caught my clothes inside the washing machine in the morning. We were trying to go to PT because I was trying to wash them and then hurt them, get them out before drill sergeant seen. And they seen you write your name on all your clothes. Yeah. Barksdale, right? So I'm like, fuck, got Article 15. So I'm sitting down there with my other boy, and we're doing a little sweeping at night and shit. And all of a sudden, I try to go to the ATM that's on the side. And all of a sudden, drill sergeant come, we lock up, get parade rest hella quick, right? And he's asking this question, what you guys doing over here? And this and the other. He's like, okay, you guys good. My money said, zoop, went right back into the ATM machine. I was like, no. I didn't get my $200 out the end of basic. When they had a little briefing, I had to talk to whatever that bank name was. There was that with Fort Benning, yeah. Augustus Bank, whatever the hell it's called. And I had to tell them, like, I was trying to get some money out and $200 went back in. Can I get my money? But they were like, okay, we got you, whatever. So that was good. But, shit like that is kind of my motivating factor for my life path. You know what I mean? And I think
Did you have any mentors or heroes that you always looked up to that kind of like you inspired to be?
Well, I think my uncle. I think seeing my uncle's house, because we weren't close. My mom moved from Oakland, right? Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I had a burp. But my uncle and my grandma, and they're kind of, my other family I don't know at all, they did good. They're all doing good. If I go back out to East Coast, a lot of people are doing good. I mean, my mom decided to move out and do her own thing, kind of thing. So it's kind of like when I got to see like my uncle's house and how he was living, because he was, he has his master's degree. He was the project manager for Pac Bell for years and retired. He retired from Homeland Security, shit like that. Like, he did his thing. So it's like when I got to see my uncle, like, and I got to see his house, and they got his house, which is like back in the day, it was like probably $500,000-$600,000, whatever. And then the houses closer inside by the lake were like $1 million homes and stuff like that. And I got to see that. I was like, and I was just going around. They had like this is this community's town home section, to where, his had the Olympic sized pool and the little gym inside, whatever. And, then the other people had the full size gym. If you lived in this part of the community, it was all gated and shit. I was like, this shit is fucking crazy. Like, I grew up thinking Target was like expensive. And, like, I remember I seen this one Twitter meme. They were like, if you had a refrigerator and the ice came out when you were younger, you're balling or whatever, right? So it's like shit like that was just like, God damn, this motherfucker got money, right? So then he bought me all type of clothes and stuff one summer and stuff like that, right? And I'm like saying thank you over and over and over, because I'm not used to like getting all that shit, right? And he's like, you don't gotta say thank you so much, you know what I mean? Like, just clothes, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, that was getting used to and everything else. And then I was like, like, how much do you got to make to get something like this? You know what I mean? Like, how much, like, what do you got? Oh, well, and then I was asking about like, like credit and everything else. And I'm like 16 at the time, 15, 16. I'm asking about how to get your credit score up. So when I first got in the military, I was investing. They tried to get me too. I got a loan just to repaid the loan. And then they tried to say I didn't, and tried to charge me like 15%, had to dispute that. So they were trying to get me. But, and I was with the bank that was on, in Korea, on post. They were trying to get me for no reason. But I was working on my credit score at fucking 19 years old. You know what I mean? And no one taught me none of that stuff. I was just, winging all this stuff. And but seeing him and seeing that lifestyle and seeing how to accomplish it, that was the only blueprint that I was like, oh, you can do this kind of stuff. This stuff is possible, whatever, right? And that kind of opened my eyes to stuff like that. So I'm like, if any kids out there that's in a bad situation and some like slumish situation, bad neighborhood, messed up parenting, whatever, I think all these kids should be able to go see what it's like and what's normal. Because when you're young, you think that shit's normal. It took me a long time to realize a lot of stuff that I grew up through wasn't normal. You know what I mean? So if you get to see what's normal and what's accomplished, what's achievable and what's really not expensive versus what is expensive, and Target's not a spot that rich people go to, you know what I mean? Having a game system or a couple consoles in your house isn't not normal. You know what I mean? Having, regular stuff isn't not normal. Then it's going to open their eyes and they're going to be like, oh, I can achieve this. You know what I mean? Some of them are going to be like, I can't achieve this, and give them something to think, okay, it's real. But before that, I was like, this shit's normal. And then I remember, even my wife, she's like, what the fuck is going, like she's been at my house sometime, like, what the fuck? Cause I got with her before I got the military. She was like, I used to go over your house and certain shit used to be happening. You should just be sitting there blocking out playing the game. And I was like, how is he doing this? Or whatever, right? And I was just like, this shit's normal. Or she'd bring up shit to this day, and I don't remember it because it was kind of so normal that I just blocked it out. It was just like, this is, whatever. But I think every young person should go see what's outside if they got opportunity to go see what's outside of their neighborhood. It's kind of like when Americans go to Africa or these third world countries and like, oh, I thought I was at the bottom, but I'm not at the bottom. This is the bottom. It's kind of like, okay, I thought being this middle class person was unachievable, but it is achievable. It's kind of the same thing in reverse in America. That's what people should do.
So when you mentioned you knew your wife before you got married. You're married. How long have you been married now?
I've been married fucking for like 12 years now, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I'm married in August, so I gotta know what.
Congratulations, man. The secret is, we always talk about that shit. Just stand together, honestly, man. Like if you love your wife and you think, okay, like, because everyone has bad stuff and everyone goes through bad stuff and stuff like that and yada yada yada. But it's kind of like if for the most part that's better than all the worst stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Then just stay together, stick it through it, and you're going to start to learn that what's not bad and what's cool, and you're going to learn how to fucking iron out dumb arguments that are like, you'll have the dumbest catastrophic arguments in the world. It'd be like some like, it's over, motherfucker, like, and it's like it's like, what are we arguing about right now? But then it's like, then all of a sudden you look back and like, and then it's kind of like the things like, do I really want to leave? Like, okay, I could go get with somebody else, but then if I get with somebody else, like, what's the purpose? I'm gonna have to fucking go through their bullshit. You know what I mean?
Learn
I'm
it
gonna have to
all
learn.
over,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn this person all over again and go through their bullshit all over again. What's the purpose? But it's kind of like, you know, if you, and especially if you care about each other, you guys do each other right for the most part and better than anybody else.
Mhm.
You guys gonna be there for each other. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things. Kind of like when people look at old people and they're like, man, they've been together 50 years. And like they just stayed together. They just stayed together. Honestly, that was the secret. But
So
besides
how
that,
did you and your wife first meet? And how did you
oh,
know she was the one?
Fresno City College. We're both going to college and trying to go to college and shit. Like I told you before the military, I was trying to go to college and shit. So, and
And
then
how did you like first like was she sitting across the room and you're like, yep.
the bus.
Huh?
The bus. I seen her ass stand up on the bus reading a book. She always reads. She still reads the shit like she reads like on average she's reading probably like a little more than 70 books a year. She probably way past that now. But she always reads. So I just seen her stand up in the middle of the bus on the bus route reading a book. And I was like, she looked good, whatever, right? I was like, I'm gonna go talk to her. And I was nervous a couple times and I finally talked to her, whatever, right? And then we, you know, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, and then I decided I need to get the fuck out of here. I need to join the military. And we stayed together through all the, you know, basics and writing and stuff like that. And then the military's like, hey, fucking, you going to Korea? You know, it's, you know. So I stayed in Korea for a little bit without her, but then it's kind of like if I was going to stay in the military, which I was, you gotta make a decision. You're gonna be with this person, or you're gonna leave this person, start doing your thing with somebody else. So I was like, hey, you know, want to get married or whatever. When I went back, and then we got married, and yeah, ever since. So
Were you in Korea for a year?
yeah, I was in Korea for 2 years.
Oh, 2 years? Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, so 2 years, and we see each other like 30, you know, you see each other that 30 days a year kind of thing, or something like that on Xmas. Shit was rough.
How long
But
were
you
you in
know,
the Army for?
I was in the Army for about 8 years.
8.
Yeah, 8 years. I would have stayed, man. I was trying to do special forces and shit, but you know, that knee, remember that knee issue? Yeah, that shit took me out, man. I was like, you know, I can't run with soldiers, can't teach them cadences. Got soldiers don't know cadences and shit. And I was like, fuck it, I'm running anyway, right? My knee is still fucking all fucked up. Should be swollen as hell afterwards. You know, I tried to go down range with you guys, and then I put on my battle rattle, and I was like right before the Humvee rollover, whatever courses. Put on my gear, and I was stuck at the motherfucking range. I couldn't walk, and the fucking van was way on the side with everybody just sitting in it, cleaning their weapons. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't want to be like, hell, right? So I lit my ass. It hurt so bad, man. I lit my ass way over there in my gear, man, just fucking limping. And then got in the car.
How did it first happen? Well, how did you first, was this like a prior injury before you got in, or?
No, this happened while I was in what's the name? This what happened, right? I was over there in Korea, and if you ever did combatives, you know you have the full giant mat.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, this smart sergeant, and first of all, every time you ever did combatives, I'm sure your socks are most likely off most of the time. If you ever did like real structured combatives, your socks are off. You got your ACUs rolled up a certain way. You got the full mat. You guys are rolling. Everyone's socks are off. This smart guy had us with our socks on in level 2 combatives, right? Because I'm going for the certification. I'm thinking I'm gonna be the UFC next combatives champ, right? And I'm like trying to do it. So I'm doing the takedown drills. This guy has sit-up mats. He has like fucking 20 sit-up mats pushed together on the gym floor. Jeez. You know, sit-up mats are like 2x2, like the you know, one piece, pushed together. Everyone has their socks on a gym floor, a slick ass gym floor. They do the takedown drill. My sergeant and my boy take me down. I'm swinging or whatever. And then my leg just bends in back of me and just pop real loud, right? Because it goes I step between the mats, which are not supposed to separate, but they're sit-up mats.
Yeah.
With my socks on. It's no grip on the gym floor. They take me down. My shit, wow, real loud. And everyone's just looking. My sergeant, he's probably scared at the time. So he's like, get up, you know, trying to do one thing. You're not hurt kind of thing, right? I'm like, get the fuck off me, right? You're trying to pick me up. My shit popped, swollen for weeks. All of a sudden, I had Korea had some good people there, some good leaders, and I had a lot of bad leaders because of the culture out there. The culture is like, you guys are stuck out here. You guys don't know the rules, and you're young soldiers, most of you. We're gonna fucking do what the fuck we want. They're trying to say that I'm lying about my injury, and we don't think it's true. And you know how it is in the military, like suck it up, drive on. So if you go to TMC, then fucking you're penalized for it in the background. They're going to look at you as a shitbag. So I said, fuck it. I'm not going to TMC because TMC keeps giving me ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm. That's all they do.
Like,
water, water, man.
Yeah, I'm like, my knee's fucked up. And I'm limping for like 2-3 weeks, right? Here's my ibuprofen. I'm like, I can't keep doing it because first of all, I'm missing breakfast. I can't take a shower because after PT and TMC has me waiting there, so I'm missing breakfast. I'm taking too much time to get to work. My sergeants are getting irritated. You're only giving me ibuprofen and not looking into my knee. I can't keep doing this for multiple days. You know what I mean? Okay, then fuck it. I'm gonna let my knee heal. I get to I get to Fort Lewis and remember First Sergeant what's his name, Hosfield or Hatsfield? So
Hospital.
First Sergeant Hatsfield there, cool as hell.
Yeah.
That was a great ass unit right there. Great ass
Right.
unit.
So
Right?
I just gotta interject real quick. So I'm coming from one first armored division. So my
Mm-hmm.
first sergeant I only had two first sergeants throughout the whole time I was in the army. I had one that like you couldn't even talk to about anything. So I'm coming from a unit that like you're always at parade rest. You're always afraid of talking to like your first sergeant about anything, even as an NCO. And then I meet First Sergeant Hospital, and that man, he like coolest man, like. Yeah, but go on.
But him and the commander, she was cool as hell too. I forgot her name, but she was cool as hell. He was cool as hell. The whole chain was cool as hell.
Yeah.
Fucking Sergeant Major Hornbuckle, cool as hell.
Yeah.
Everybody at 201st, for the most part, was cool as hell, right? 109th, but they had some cool people there, a couple. But for the most part, 201st, cool as hell, right? So sitting there, and like I'm like sitting there, and I came from Korea, and like, because I'm coming from Benning, and I'm working out hella hard back in the day. Like back in the day, I used to work out hard, right? Like in Korea, I remember one of my multiple NCOs, you don't do no 100 push-ups, Barksdale. I'm like, I did do 100 push-ups. Do them right now, then. Hit 100 push-ups, shut them up, right? Done, right? Yeah. So that I used to do that. The only thing I ever had a problem with, because I'm like 6'3", was trying to get 13 minutes under 13 minute 2 mile. That's kind of fucking difficult, right? So
the taller you are, man, the harder it is.
Yeah, right.
People are just like, woo, we're just
you know what I mean? So I'm doing that and the sit-ups or whatever, right? Trying to max out in the sit-ups and what's get close to maxing out in sit-ups, close to maxing out on run, max out on push-ups, easy, right? So I get to Korea, I get to Fort Lewis almost in that shape, because I had my little break, the transition, which kind of stopped running and stuff, because we used to run our ass off out in Korea. Sergeant Down used to kill us. But got over there or whatever, and hitting push-ups, and Sergeant Hansen like, man, we got a stud or whatever, right? He's all happy, they're walking around and he's smiling, because I'm like I hit like 90 something push-ups, and I'm about to do my steps, I'm about to kill him, right? I'm like, because I was like, when I get to this unit, I'm about to make a great impression, right? I'm about to max this first PT test, I'm about to kill it. I go do the sit-ups. Matter of fact, I didn't get to do the sit-ups. I hold somebody else's fucking feet and my shit locks up. I was like, all right. I'm like on the ground holding somebody else's legs and my knee locks up. I'm like, whatever, right? And so my knee locked up. My knee was messed up in Korea, but it wasn't locking up yet. I got to what's name and had this little fake kind of lock up when I was in my house or my apartment when I first got to Washington, whatever. And then it locked up real hard right there. So the guy comes out and I'm like, and then the commander, she's trying to help out and she's trying to get me back inside to sit down. I'm like, no, I need to go outside. I'm about to pass out or whatever, right? Because I'm like sweating, about to pass out. So I go sit outside on the little steps. And then all of a sudden the guy comes over, wraps my knee with a little fucking what are those little wraps? Like the little he wraps my knee and then he gives me two ibuprofens, right? And then so he's our medic, whatever, right? He does that. And then I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to go to what's name. They kept saying nothing's wrong. I'm like, something's wrong, because I keep swelling up all the time, right? And they didn't believe anything was wrong. And then when that incident happened with you, oh yeah, something's wrong. I'm like, I've been trying to go since I got here, trying to get you guys to look at my shit since I got here, from the time that me and you rolled over and did combatives and my shit really popped and everyone's seen it. I've been trying that long to get these TMC people to actually look at my knee and give me like an MRI or something, but they wouldn't. They kept saying, oh, it's nothing. We don't see anything. X-rays don't see anything. And then that happened or whatever. And then, what the funny part about it though, after that happened, the same guy came, wrapped my knee and gave me ibuprofen again. The same soldier. I was like, serious? I was like, the same dude? He came, wrapped my knee, sat me on the fucking table and gave me 2 ibuprofens. Damn. So then I did that. Cool ass. I still talk to him. And I have him on Facebook. I can't think of his name right now. What's the chaplain's name?
Oh, Tippery.
Yeah, okay, Captain
Captain
Tippery,
Tippery,
cool
yeah.
as hell, right? I rode back with him, whatever. He was like, I'll take him back. Rode back, had my leg in the middle of the Humvee from the back seat all the way up, right? Just had my foot just extended all the way through the Humvee. They take me back and they take care of me because now everyone got to see that my leg was really messed up, right? Then all of a sudden they did MRI. Yeah, you have a real bad meniscus tear, most likely not gonna heal, this and the other. They do a surgery, scar tissue, nasty lump on the side of my knee still, right?
Well,
I'm like, okay, my stuff's still messed up. It still hurts. Oh no, we're not seeing anything. I'm like, you don't see this big ass ball right here? Yeah, there's a scar tissue. We can't do it. Next thing you know, I try again. My shit swells up so bad that like it's like poking out my ACUs. Like my knee is like rounded through my ACUs, and my ACUs are tight on my knee. So I had to wait till I get home, took a picture of the shit. Then oh yeah, something is wrong with you. So I'm like, why are you guys waiting so long? I could be out there deployed or whatever, right? And then and I used to always think back then because I wanted to go special forces. I was like, if I was special forces, this shit wouldn't happen. They would take better care of me, right? And I was like, that's messed up. When you're a regular soldier, they don't give you the same care. Not, and that's why I wanted to be special forces too. So I'm like, because then I'll be part of a group. I want to be like real special forces. I'm like, I want to be part of a group. And then your group, you got your group medics and your group, people, and they take care of you. And then and I'm like, y'all fucking on my shit, whatever, right? So then I went over there and they seen it and they did the second surgery on my knee or whatever that second year. And then after that, I was like, okay, I can't compete no more because I'm not going to be the dude that's sitting in there trying to get 70% of my PT test because you guys are giving me a waiver because I'm injured. And then all of a sudden now I'm getting looked at as the old NCO that's kind of the E6 for the rest of his life, and then retires 22 years as an E6. I'm like, no, that's not me. Like I made fucking E5 in 3 years. I'm not about to sit there and 22 years later be E6. Like that's crazy. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do something or get out or whatever, right? And I wanted to be a warrant too. I was like, because I was gonna be a warrant. I was gonna get my 2-year degree, be a warrant officer, and then go and be a special forces warrant officer. I think it was like X-ray or something like that. That was my whole career plan. And then I can be the Mr. Barksdale, special forces, dude, whatever, right?
yeah.
Don't have to be the commander or nothing like that. Just go to the warrant officer route. That was my dream. So that happened. I was like, okay, since I can't do this, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to pass that warrant officer school, and I can't teach my soldiers anything no more because I can't be the example. I'm out. Whatever. So that's the story of the knee, man. Long
So
story,
how's it
but
now?
still fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I squat, my right one's starting to fuck up because my left one's fucked up. But if I like squat in a wrong position, I got like squat carefully, my knee will lock up. I still got the scar tissue on my shit, little knots, and yeah, it's still fucked up.
So I gotta move into No Boss Beats. I want to definitely learn all about how that all got started with you. What like so I want to transition to that. So how did you come up with it? Like I know you've always been into music, but how did you like come up with it, start the business, and so tell me all about that.
All right, so since back in the day, I've been trying to make beats. So it's first time I made a beat. I'm not sure if you remember Tino. He was a 109th or whatever, but I had him rap one of my beats a long time ago. But I tried to make beats when I was in my old apartment. You probably remember. No, it was the apartment I moved in after that or whatever. But I was still talking to you at that time. I was trying to make beats on FL Studio, whatever, right? Downloaded my pirated copy FL Studio, didn't know what I was doing. I sat there because I was sitting there. I used to always wanted to rap. So in Korea, I used to be trying to rap, and I freestyle and I rap now a little bit. So I'm sitting there, whatever, and like I'm like, man, I need beats. I'm like, because I'm trying to rap. And next thing you know, I'm like, fuck it, I make my own beats. And I'm sitting in that apartment that you remember me at. And I download FL Studio that night and have the old Logitech surround sound speakers they used to sell at the PX all the time. The little surround sound. I have those, right? And little satellites everywhere and the 2 big ones, whatever, right? And I plug that into my fucking little laptop and I'm making a beat. And I'm like, oh, it sounds clean. I got this sound over here, this sound over here, another sound over there. Come on, all these little speakers. Then I put it on fucking headphones and I couldn't hear none of the sounds, right? Because I didn't know that you're supposed to make music in stereo or in mono. So left and right, and that's it. You're not supposed to have 7.1 Adobe surround sound making music, because then once you put in regular earphones, you're not gonna be able to hear shit. The sounds will literally disappear. So I was like, okay, that didn't work. So I kept trying, went to the field, learned a little bit about, made a first beat, whatever, came back, kept making beats, met my boy, who was a sergeant, he retired or whatever, retired master sergeant, met him, and he introduced me to Reason, because I downloaded a pirated copy of Reason back in the day. And I was like, you use Reason? I use Reason. I used to work at iCore for a little bit, right? and he was doing that what's the name of the little duty, the little thing where you walk around the city and you check on the soldiers at the clubs. I forgot the name of it.
Oh, CID?
Yeah, he was
Like
CID or whatever, right?
Tattletales or whatever. Like, oh, you're not supposed to be in that club.
Yep. Oh, so what you doing out here?
Yeah.
So he was CID one time and he came through, right? And I used to talk to all the people who come through because I worked at the front desk and I did I managed the one system that did all the security, whatever. I forgot the name of that shit too, but the shit that we used to have to your S2 managers and the background checks and your socials and everything going. Yeah. I managed all that stuff, and so I checked their security clearances and stuff like that. Now import and export the people, whatever, in the system. And I was over there at ICOR working at the command center doing that, and I talked to him, and I was like, "Hey, you do this, that, and the other?" And yeah, I use Reason too. And he's like, "Yeah, I've been using Reason for years." So then me and him start doing that. But I'm gonna cut past the all that stuff. Years later, whatever, right? Get a little better and better and better. I decided, hey, I'm gonna make Akachi Productions because I'm all about the little African shit, whatever, ancestry DNA. I'm like, okay, I was like, what African language can I use to make a unique domain name? And I was like, Akachi means like the hand of God. And I'm like thinking, okay, I'm creating music with my fingers. So right. It's the hand of God, you know what I mean? So I'm like, creation kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, Akachi Productions. And then every time I would type that shit in sometime in Google, it would say Akahi, some Hawaiian shit will pop up, this Hawaiian like vacation spot. So I'm like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna change this shit eventually, right? I'm changing this shit. I need something more descriptive too, that people can say. And then so I was like, okay, one day, like I told you before, I want to own my own shit. So like No Boss Beats. And then like people who want no boss, like musicians, and want to be a musician one day or aspiring musician, they're gonna have no bosses, independent artist kind of thing, whatever you want to do. So it's like No Boss Beats. It's kind of like an inspiration to have no boss and do your own thing. So that's where the name kind of came from. And I just went with that and kept on going, man.
Now, when you'll literally work with anyone who's making music, right? Like, doesn't matter if you're doing country music, doesn't rock music. You'll just, yeah, that's
fun. Like it's fun.
Tell me more about that. Have you worked with different people doing different stuff?
Yeah, this is one girl I worked with from the UK, and that was fun. I got to work with her. She sings real good. I want to write for her and everything else like that. So then the timing and everything be on point. But she does like guitar kind of stuff, and she does like I wish I can describe it, but she does like, it's kind of like, what would you call it? I'm not sure what you would call it, but it's kind of like that Beatles vibe, but not the Beatles type music, but the vibe is kind of like the organ type, Washingtonian kind of vibe, whatever. Kind of like a hipster kind of thing, right? So she sings real good. Her voice is real nice. She plays the guitar and stuff like that. Worked with her before. I worked with my boy downstairs. They had some Rangers downstairs, some crazy ass Rangers back in the day. They used to do dumb shit like fucking light off 40 cal rounds on fire and like crazy, right? So they used to play the guitar and do a little rock stuff and stuff like that. Made a rock song with them before. Nice. Made a couple rock songs myself because I like messing with guitars and stuff like that. Got some guitars in the background over here. Mess with R&B artists, had to, mess with singers before, rappers primarily and stuff like that because I make a lot of hip hop, stuff like that. But usually it's just anybody who makes good music, who's an artist, and I can adjust my style to match up. You know what I mean?
So what's next for No Boss Beats? You doing like swag or anything? Doing like what's your goals?
My goal, I want to have like a label, like just make a No Boss label kind of thing, have some artists under me. A lot of people don't know how to promote their own music. A lot of people don't got time to do all that stuff. They just want to be the artist. They just want to come, make some good music, get some beats. They may not have the money for all the beats, work with them, percentages and stuff like that, push out their stuff, show them how to push out their stuff and have no boss basically. And then after that, going with the label.
Cool. And you're doing like a mentorship too. So it's like you'll work with people who needs help with, they already have what they want to do and you're just pushing them forward, but then you're also able to teach other people. Like that's huge. It's kind of like what being an NCO, you're showing people what it takes to do what you're doing. That's awesome.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't know about publishing. They don't want to learn about. A lot of people don't want to learn about what they don't want to learn about. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like, I got this thing, but I don't know what to do.
You know what I mean? I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn that, but I can do this. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey, if you can't do this, you don't want to learn that. I can help you with that other part, and when you're ready to learn it, teach you it. You know what I mean? And it's or it's just like the actual studying, the time it takes to study certain things. I study just naturally. Like I'm always learning something. So it's kind of like, I can do a little bit of graphics, do a little bit of publishing, do a little bit of music. I do a little bit of rapping, start learning how to play instruments. I do my IT thing. I'm always learning something, right? So it's kind of like, hey, if you don't want to learn any of that stuff, got you. I can tell you, I can summarize what I do know, and then you don't have to go read all the books. You know what I mean? And if we're cool and me and you're cool, we can make some music together. And then, and then if you don't got all the money for all these exclusive beats and having, buying beats all the time or mixing and mastering, I can mix and, and master the best I can for you and then give you some beats and stuff like that. And then you can do your thing.
Kind of like bartering in the music world. That's so cool.
You know what I mean? So it's just like back and forth, like your talent, put it out there, help you get your royalties and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's all about royalties. It's not like some people think, hey, I want to do this and get this paycheck. Like, no, you want to do this and get these royalties. Your music's going to get played forever. It's like this podcast. It's going to be on YouTube forever. So it's kind of like in years, you're still going to get paid from this same exact podcast. And that's what people need to understand. You know what I mean? It's the royalties that come with it. So it's like, hey, let's put out a lot of music, have a lot of people under one label. And then, royalties aren't that big. You're getting 0.000.5% per stream on like Spotify's and stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's not a lot. But if you put out a quantity of music and, or something catches on or something's out for years, that's going to add up.
Yeah.
Like, when I learned that dude gets paid, like the one of the richest dudes in the world, he made his money off of basically the Power Rangers. That's basically one of the richest dudes. They did not think the Power Rangers were going to take off, but he made it happen. He bought it from Japan and did some stuff and yada, yada. And they get paid literally every time that Power Rangers theme song music starts to play throughout the show. That's a lot of money. Anytime you ever heard Go Go Power Rangers, paid. I don't care how many times you heard throughout the show, paid. It's like, hey, we can make some cartoon music together. We can make some any kind of music together. You know what I mean? And then you market out to different things. Commercial music. You can make there's a lot of people who make money whose beats were on a commercial for the, you get paid a lot for this, a good amount at least, whose beats were on like a commercial for like the Super Bowl. So that you get paid like a $2,000 check because your beat that's 3 minutes long or a couple or 40 seconds long because it's commercial.
Yeah.
Get played in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like it's an odds thing in work. So that's eventually what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do stuff like that. Just trying to do that, man.
So where can they find you, Barksdale?
NoBossBeats.com, on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, on my website. No Boss Beats. Most social medias, I try to keep the brand the same. No Boss Beats. So you can type it as in one word, as in split the words up. It's gonna probably pop up for you. So.
And for the website itself, is that just NoBossBeats.com?
Yeah. NoBossBeats.com. Yeah. So website itself, NoBossBeats.com. I'll have more content up there. Like I said, I'm trying to build right now. So the more people, the more we build, stuff like that. Also, gaming industry. I do Warzone and Call of Duty stuff on Twitch. I have fun with that. If you want to come hang out, play together. If you want to just watch the stream, if you want to hear some music sometime, I try to stream it. But it's weird how you set everything up. Like you get an audio lag and delay. Don't want to go too deep into all that stuff, but you get an audio lag and delay when I'm trying to stream my music. So when I'm creating, if I hit a pad or something, it'll come through delayed. Then I have to kind of scoot all the notes back over to make them on time so they don't sound like they're off rhythm. And that's kind of irritating. So I don't stream as much with the music, but I will have a lot of my beats and music up on YouTube and stuff like that. So
nice. Well, Barksdale, thanks for doing it. Yeah, I can't thank you enough, man. It's just good seeing your face. And the cool thing about like having, close friends that you meet in the Army is like, we may not have talked in a year, but it just felt like yesterday, man. I want to thank you again for being there for me. Thank you for making the music for me. And this, I don't even have to edit it. I can literally just plug it in and just put it there.
Perfect.
This was by far the best interview I've done so far.
Perfect. Hey, and just so y'all know, I know it's the end of the interview, the end of the podcast now, but this is my old sergeant right here, Sergeant McCarthy right here. I worked under this dude who was cool as hell. We got the work at but was it, man? I'm confusing 109th.
201st.
Yeah, no, but it was the unit.
502nd am I?
Yeah, 502nd. 502nd NCO right here is cool as hell and stuff like that. We always have fun and stuff like that, and we're still having fun years later. We did a lot of stuff. This is one of the only dudes right here who got on stage. When I tell people to rap, people are like, yeah, I can rap. Yeah, I can rap. Let's spit something right now and then. They get all nervous. This is the only dude we got on stage together and spit freestyles after a concert
and people liked
on stage. And people liked it. Have fun. Only dude. That's brave. That's brave as hell right there. So this is my dude right here forever. So just letting y'all know that if y'all didn't know that tidbit too.
And Jamal, if you ever need anything, you let me know, okay?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You too.
All right, man. You take care.
All right, you too.
Later, man.
Deuces.